Hi, and welcome back to Fast, Fun, and Tasty Cooking. In this video, we are doing gluten-free banana muffins. They're super easy, and we have them as a snack or as a go-to for when we go traveling. So for the muffins, it's super simple recipe and it's fast. You need 3 bananas. You can either have the super ripe ones or the not so ripe. There's a variation in ingredients depending on how sweet they are. Eggs, 3 eggs, 2 cups of almond flour or almond meal, same thing. You need baking soda, coconut oil, and honey. And then whatever you may want to add, either blueberries, nuts, raisins, currants. Invent your own version. We have tried all of those and they're all good. So for the beginning of your recipe, you want to start your oven at 350 degrees. And that is Fahrenheit for those of you watching in centigrade, or in the countries where they use centigrades. Duh. And you want to start by getting your coconut oil, which is solid when it's cool. So that makes it hard to mix it into your batter. So I melt it beforehand, and you measure your coconut oil into a pan and then add the honey straight in. So the variation that I had mentioned before, when your bananas are super ripe, which is the model version, you don't have to use the honey because the honey just adds a little bit of sweetness. But if your bananas are at this point, leave the honey out unless you like it sweeter the way Mark and I do. Then still keep it in there. This is for you to play with. It's going to make absolutely zero difference with the actual result or the recipe. If the bananas are like this, we like the extra sweetness, but as I mentioned, it's optional. So your coconut oil initially is going to be solid, and you want it to be liquid. So put it on a low heat for it to melt. And you want to do this at the beginning, because if you do the coconut oil and melt it right when you need it and it's hot, it's going to cook your eggs. So that's step number 2 after you turn the oven on. The next thing that I like to do is to get the bananas mashed up so that I am not mashing the bananas into my eggs. It's just a matter of preference. Again, this being a gluten-free recipe, it doesn't make that much of a difference how you put the ingredients in. This is purely my preference. So if for any reason you miss a step, don't worry about it. Just keep going. It's the beauty of gluten-free baking. It's extremely forgiving. So you mash up your bananas, and they don't have to be super fine or complete puree. And by now our coconut oil has melted. So I'm going to turn it off and pull it off the heater, the gas, so that it gets a chance to cool down before I need it. Now you want to add your eggs into the mashed bananas. Again, it's 3 bananas and 3 eggs. And then for hygiene purposes, do make sure that you wash your hands after you've added the eggs. So that you're not having any roy when you're touching everything afterwards. And then you're simply gonna mix in the eggs into the mashed bananas. And by now our coconut oil is nice and cool. So as you can see, the coconut oil went from being solid to a nice liquid. And by adding the honey into the coconut oil, it makes it easy to incorporate the honey as well. And you just want to mix all your liquids together. And then you're gonna take your almond flour, add 1 flat teaspoon of baking soda, and just stir it in. Incorporate your dry ingredients into the wet. And that quickly, you have a banana muffin mixture that you can either turn into muffins, which is our preference for ease of eating, or you can also put into a loaf pan and actually make a lovely banana bread. So the variations that I mentioned at the beginning, we love having blueberries in our bananas. So it is a possibility. If that's what you like, dump it in, mix them in. The other possibility is currants, otherwise called miniature raisins, but they're actually a completely different beast. Or you can use raisins, or sometimes we like to combine raisins and currants together, just dump them into your mixture. The other possibility are either almonds, and you can either chop them or put them whole if you like the crunch, or you can do walnuts. We've also tried cashews, and it all works out just absolutely beautifully. So with these muffins, you get roughly a dozen, but it really depends on the size of the bananas. If the banana's a little smaller, you may not get exactly a dozen, but you'll get close to it. And it depends how many of the other ingredients you actually add. But if you have a scoop, it works great. Just put in a scoopful into each of your muffin tins. Do line them with paper. Makes it easy also for handling later on. You can add, if you're using the blueberries, put some blueberries at the bottom or just fold it in. Fill your cups. Here are the blueberries. We're going to make blueberry ones today. Fill your cups with the mixture. And then you can very easily figure out as you're going along how much you actually have left and kind of add. So I tend to make it a little bit short at the beginning because I prefer to get a full dozen if I can. And you can always go back and add more. So you don't need to watch me filling these individually. We absolutely love having nuts on top of the muffins because they come out really nice and toasted by the time they're done baking. And it makes it a nice kind of transition in texture. But if you're adding nuts, it's up to you if you want the garnish on the muffins. So there you go. Put them in the oven, 350 degrees. At the altitude we're in, which is 6,500 feet, they take about 25 minutes to bake. And I say about because it's give or take, depending on how big the muffins actually turn out. But basically what you're looking for is for the muffins to be a nice golden brown on top. And we will give altitude adjustments at the end so that you can figure out for where you are. And the ones we made earlier, this is what they look like once they're actually baked. And the grain, the texture of the muffin is really remarkable for not containing wheat. One of the best textures I have found with a gluten-free recipe. The taste is lovely, great as a snack. And also, if you have a lot of ripe bananas, you can make a couple of batches, just double the recipe, and they freeze great. Just put them in a Ziploc bag. When you're ready to eat them, just pull out a bag at a time, thaw them out, and you're golden. The other possibility, if you're going to go camping or traveling and you're going to be in a car for a while, we just take the frozen muffins with us and just take out what we need as and when we are ready for a snack. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the recipe and happy baking. Thanks for joining us in this fast, fun, and tasty cooking video series.